From American hunters and anglers, this is The Arena, the front line in the war on public land and wildlife. I'm Aaron Murphy.
I'm Lan Tawney.
I'm Barrett Kaiser.
I'm Brin Merkley.
So we've been, we're traveled out to D.C., and you either have to go through Minneapolis or you got to go through Salt Lake City. And I went through Salt Lake City, and they've redone that airport. It's absolutely amazing. And they got these big, screens that show all this public land. Awesome scenes of, canyon lands, you got Bryce. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, this is so weird because of the juxtaposition that they are showing all these public lands. But you got Senator Mike Lee who wants to take it from us all. And he either wants to have it for him and himself and his rich buddies, or he wants to defile them by taking, oil and gas development that's unfettered. And it's just this weird place to be.
And Utah in particular, right? And they're showcasing it in the airport. Come to Utah, use our public lands.
Come to Utah,
while our United States Senator fucks you. Yeah,
We've got a lot to say about Mike Lee of Utah, as we usually do, but particularly we'll get into some legislation that's concerning. But first of all, let's shake it up a little bit about the seasons, hunting season.
Okay, so for me, fall is all about hunting season, and you guys have heard this before, but I just can't stand this pumpkin spice phenomenon that has come in America.
Spice.
I know I'm beating that horse, but it's what has happened? There's pumpkin spice in everything, right? It's just out of control. Case in point, a friend of mine gave me pumpkin spice dog chews. Okay, for those of you listening only, this is a package of pumpkin spice dog chews. And in a moment of weakness, last February,
You ate
Heidi,
one.
you would know this. It was 15 below out.
You're just trying to save some money. You cost a lot. And if you got them given, you're like, ooh, good,
Ooh.
free greenies.
So anyway, the dogs are in the house, full cabin fever. So I just broke down and I gave each of my dogs one of these things. And I'll tell you, the next morning, their asses were on fire. Literally, houseplants were dying. The paint was peeling, and I just don't get it. And why are they green?
Why are they
the
shaped like a
weirdest thing.
toothbrush?
It's a toothbrush.
And I can smell that from here, Barrett.
Anyway,
smells like
I'm sorry for the rant, but it's just gotten out of control. Fall is about hunting season on public lands, right? That's what it's about.
I'll change it. The larches have changed in Montana right now, and they're that golden, bright yellow, and it's one of my favorite times of year because you're out in the woods, and you're I've been deer hunting a little bit lately, and you see those, they're just on fire. And what those larch do is they show you where the water is, right? Because they're dependent on water. And so you'll see a landscape and have ponderosa pine and Douglas fir. And if you find the larch, that once they're on fire right now, that's where the water is. And it's pretty cool. So going from pumpkin spice to larch, I think is where we're
I
headed.
think it's perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're coming at you live today from Washington, D.C., and kind of a funny story on our way. We're headed to the Ronald Reagan Convention Center here, and our Uber driver, it's in the same building as USAID was, and he said, I used to work at USAID, and we said, you got doged, and yeah, well, it was pretty eye-opening.
He goes, do you guys work in the government? Murph goes, no, we're commentators.
We're commentators.
Anything you want us to commentate on?
We have a lot to say. We have a lot to say about the shit show that is the U.S. government these days. So anyway, let's get into it. But let's go back to Mike Lee.
Yes.
Who he has a weird thing about himself where he loves to go on Fox News and fight the culture war there. But set us up here a little bit, Barrett. He was on Fox News a few weeks ago talking about the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vogt. We like to just call it simply the guy who hires people in the government, but said something a little odd.
Well, look, we like to pick on Mike Lee for a whole host of reasons, but the biggest and most important is he's totally anti-public lands, and that's what we are all about. He's totally, and it's just the things that he says and that does, and the bills that he introduces. There's fodder for days on this guy, but in commenting specifically, you got to play this clip. This is specific to firing people.
Because Russ Vogt, the OMB director, has been dreaming about this moment, preparing this moment since puberty. Russ Vogt has a plan, and that plan is going to succeed in empowering.
Sorry, what?
Okay, so again, Senator Mike Lee of Utah talking about the guy who is firing people at the federal government and dreaming about it since puberty. And I told you guys when I was, a teenager, That's not what I was thinking about.
You're not sneaking that memo into the bathroom or something?
The Heritage Foundation white papers. That was my stash.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
It's so weird. He is so creepy, this guy.
Creepy is a great segue into what we want to talk about today, right?
Yep.
So we are going to focus today's show on one particular bill in Congress. It is from Mike Lee, and again, he is a Republican from Utah. This bill already has 8 co-sponsors, and it has an official title, which is called the Borderlands Conservation Act, and that's one of those fake names for a bill because it has nothing to do with conservation. It has everything to do with big government. So we call it what it is, the Big Brother bill.
Big Brother bill.
Which is, of course, a reference to the dystopian government in 1984. And this bill is crazy. So I'm just going to set it up a little bit, but then we're going to play another clip here because we took this to Instagram where a whole bunch of people took interest in this bill, as they should, because it impacts hunting and fishing. But what this piece of legislation does is take the top 100 miles from the northern border of Canada and the bottom southern half of the country, the 100 miles from Mexico, and all federal public land within that swath, which is huge, is essentially weaponized. So it's basically allows the Department of Homeland Security to come in and supersede the authority of the Department of Interior, Agriculture, the Park Service, wilderness areas, and essentially allow government agents to spy on law-abiding Americans who use that land. It is a terrifying, scary bill, which is why we call it the Big Brother bill. So I'm going to set this up really quickly. We're going to play a video from Barrett, and we'll come back on the other side.
So what do you look for while out hunting on public land? You're looking for track, you're looking for sign, private property lines, other hunters maybe. How about remote surveillance systems? Motion sensors, vehicle barriers, detection devices, so government agents can track your every move? You're going to hate the latest land grab legislation from Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah.
That motherfucker is back.
Let's call this what it is. It's the Big Brother bill, and 8 Republican U.S. senators have already signed on as co-sponsors. This legislation allows federal agents to secretly monitor and track law-abiding U.S. citizens on federally managed land within 100 miles of the southern border and the northern border. That's a shit ton of public land. From Washington's Olympic Peninsula all the way to the coast of Maine, from SoCal to the Gulf of Mexico. Mike Lee's Big Brother bill calls for, quote, tactical infrastructure. That means observation towers, video cameras, listening devices in dozens of national parks, national forests, wildlife refuges, and even prime wilderness areas. Why? A, Mike Lee hates public lands, and 2, he thinks that they should be managed like a frickin' police state to gain, quote, operational control. In places like this, the Boundary Waters in Minnesota, or this, the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania, or this, the Cuyahoga National Park in Ohio. And at what cost? Your privacy? This legislation is as bad as it sounds, it's as creepy as it sounds. So if you'd rather hunt and fish without Big Brother up in your shit, then join us in telling DC politicians to shove this bill right where it belongs.
And this bill is, even if you're not a hunter, like, you're out in the woods and you have to go to the bathroom. Like,
Right.
how about no? I don't want a camera listening and recording me going pee in the woods.
Who would?
Right. Yeah. Or, I mean, during hunting season, I mean, can you imagine packing an elk out or dragging a deer to the truck and being worried about Big Brother up in your shit? It's just crazy.
Or how about, like, you know, like, I'll take that another level. My son's just starting to hunt. How about it's his first deer, and we're dragging that, and we're almost to the truck, and all of a sudden a bunch of agents show up, right? Like, not just like the video cameras, but the agents show up. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, hey, you're ruining this experience that we just had that was for us, not for you.
And what if you had scouted this deer spot for a week before opening day, and you had it all dialed in? You woke up at dark 30, you got there, and it was all set, and all of a sudden a drone flies through and just blows all the critters out of there.
And one
right?
thing, and one thing I would like to add to that is a lot of people hear public lands and they think, oh, that's a Western issue. One thing I'm glad you did in that video, Barrett, is really show how expansive this bill is, because if you look at a map of America and the northeastern half of the country, it covers all of these places, and it's basically all of Maine. So
Totally.
Acadia National Park.
Totally.
It is a huge chunk of the Great Lakes area. Swing states we're talking about.
The
right?
Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania, right?
Which has a high concentration of hunters.
Yep.
So this is something that we are trying to raise the volume about because it matters. And that's why we have the perfect guest with us to talk about this issue. And it is my pleasure to introduce former U.S. Senator from the great state of North Dakota, served between 2013 and 2019. Before that was North Dakota's Attorney General and the first woman senator from North Dakota, Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Thank you for joining
Heidi.
us. Also a member, while you were in the Senate, of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. So, Senator, tell us what you think about this bill, and we'll get into other questions, but initial reaction.
One thing you guys haven't talked about is I'm curious how Mike Lee sold this to 7 other senators.
Right.
I mean, would he
Co-sponsors.
say, this is get tough on crime, get tough on these horrible boarding crossings. We need to basically turn the border into a spy station.
Yeah.
Who would sign on that?
Right.
No one would sign on that. So how did he sell it? And you guys shouldn't let those people who signed on as co-signers
1,000%.
off the hook either, because this is a very, very bad bill.
And you know how many of those co-sponsors actually represent a border state?
None.
One. Ted Cruz
But
from Texas.
everybody else is nowhere near a border.
Nowhere near a border.
Yep.
So like,
Wyoming, like
Yeah.
a long ways away from the border.
right.
So they don't even know these issues, and they're acting like
But you can just tell, we need to stop these illegal boarding crossings, and where we can put up cameras because we own the land, we're going to put up cameras because we own the land. And that's not what public lands are about. They're about that solitary, you guys talk a lot about hunting, but there's a lot of hikers who use public lands. There's a lot of people who just want to be in that experience of going somewhere where you are, basically not surrounded by a bunch of technology, not surrounded by a bunch of, cities, and you just have that moment. And if people who are listening haven't, although probably no one listening to your podcast is going to ever not have that experience, but it is self-affirming. It is a connection. And right now, when you think about it, you think about this in the world of AI. We're very concerned about losing the connectivity, not only with each other, but with nature, with
Totally.
the great outdoor, as we call it, the great outdoors. So you're going to go somewhere and spend all your time looking up for the drone, or spend all your time looking up for the tower, or spend all your time looking at the trees, wondering where the game cameras are. That's going to make your life less than what it is.
Absolutely.
But I hope you guys out the people who actually signed on this. And the other thing I want to say is everybody is like, look at China. China is this place that does all this surveillance, facial recognition, whatever.
Right.
We're getting there.
we really are. And it makes me think of Handmaid's Tale a little bit. And it makes me think of Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Where she's hunting and she can't leave her territory. Yeah. It's just like, what the hell is going on?
But the thing is, places, right, that we can go and get away, like you're talking about, right? And like I think Richard Louv wrote a book. It was like the nature deficit order, and it's a disorder, and it's because people aren't getting outside enough. This is not going to make one of people get outside now even more.
Oh, totally, absolutely. And for Mike Lee, this is a pattern, right? So he's building on a pattern. He has introduced several pieces of legislation that are hostile to public lands. He just got his ass kicked when he tried to sell off 3 million acres of public lands. The community, the hunters, the anglers, the bikers, the bird watchers, everybody got together and pushed back. He had to withdraw his own piece of legislation, Senator. How embarrassing is that, right?
Well, but he's not going to stop.
That's right.
Because he sees himself as righteous, that he's right and everybody else is wrong, and this is his personal, goal to basically take out public lands, and he's going to do it piece by piece. What is wrong with him?
Totally.
He represents a state in Utah that brags about, look at all the beautiful places, that is heavily dependent on tourism. That tourism doesn't exist in Utah if you end up on the landscape with a drilling rig. It doesn't exist.
Oh, totally. And if you think about it, it's not just Mike Lee. It's this administration, this Department of Interior, who, of course, you know all about, our Interior Secretary, my friend Doug Burgum.
He was not like that. He was not.
Is that
like
right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
What happened?
MAGA happened. You
Yeah.
know, ambition happened.
Yeah.
There is no way he, 5 years ago, would ever sign off on any of this.
And to be clear, we're talking about former Governor Doug Burgum of North Dakota, who is now the Interior Secretary.
Thank you for that clarification.
Hair
But
helmet,
it's,
Burgum.
it's part of what we call the big, the grand divestment. Lan, why don't you talk about the strategy of just, in my opinion, it's we're going to break it so our rich friends can buy it when it comes to public lands.
So I think I would look at that as like defund, dismantle, and then divest. And divest is just that fancy word of sell it the F off, right? And so right now we can talk about defunding. That's just taking budgets, down, which have been going down for the last couple of decades. But this president has decided to cut those even more drastically. But the dismantle is what we're talking about here, right? This dismantling where not only are we talking about Big Brother and there's going to be cameras everywhere, but they're also talking about putting roads into wildernesses like Bob Marshall in Montana, which is one of my favorite places in the world. And why do it there? Because if you can put a road into the Bob Marshall, you can kind of do it anywhere, right? And if you can start oil and gas development, as you're talking about, like if you can do that in the Canyonlands or whatever in Utah, then you can do that anywhere. And so they're trying to break it so they can either privatize it for their own little like mansion or honey hole, I would say, or they want to basically defile that land and like try to make money off of it. So this is all about greed.
Well, and if you think about it, they're trying to make the experience less. The
Totally.
experience of going on a public land less.
Well, and
the more they do that, the quicker people will say, I don't care about public lands.
Totally.
I'm not going out there.
Interesting story about one of the videos we put up online about this bill, and somebody commented, well, at least I live in North Dakota and don't have to worry about it. And I said, whoa. And I actually took a deep dive into how this bill impacts your state, Senator, because North Dakota has more wildlife refuges than any state in the nation. Many of them are on easements, so not necessarily public land, but 12 of them fall within that 100-mile border that are public. And so if you hunt birds in North Dakota, this bill absolutely impacts your way of life.
And the great irony is we're the Peace Garden state.
Right.
What does that mean? We have a state park that is shared with Manitoba. And the idea is that we're all friendly. I guess poor Canada has learned otherwise. But when you think about the heritage of North Dakota, it is just tragic that we're headed down this path. And the thing, I remember talking to a lot of the folks who have grazing permits on federal land, and they're like, well, we'd like to buy it. I said, you can't compete. Just get that out of your head. You think you can compete with the billionaires? We have this with farmland right now. People coming in, driving the price up, basically paying outrageous prices because they can, because they have outrageous amounts of money and want it.
Right.
And so how is that actually going to benefit the hunter? How is it going to benefit the fisher person? How is it actually going to benefit the farmer if we just allow all of this to come?
And a lot of those are foreign-owned enterprises, right? I mean, China and others are buying up farmland and the like. And so this Big Brother bill is
You got
concerning.
that Secretary of Treasury who owns a lot of farmland and is a suffering soybean
He's a
farmer.
soybean farmer, right?
Suffering. His long-suffering nightmare is over.
Woe is
They
him.
did the deal.
But this Big Brother bill is so like creepy and dystopian in all the ways. But it literally usurps every major federal environmental law. The Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Wilderness Act. They're punching roads. They're talking about putting up, observation towers to gain operational control, forward operating bases, barbed wire fences. I mean, the list goes on, and it is just creepy as fuck.
And we put the text for this bill on our social media. So if you guys want to go see it, we highlight it. Yeah. It's tactical operations. It's like, what in the F is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like
somebody's watching me.
These guys just whipped that out in the Uber this morning. That's pretty impressive, you guys.
Stuck in our head all day.
Senator, I have a question for you. One of the things that we do often in our organization is tell people that they can and do and should matter when it comes to affecting public policy. And so we say, find your reps and tell them hell no to all of this stuff. From your experience, what is good advice for folks who may not be reaching their lawmakers in Congress?
Well, what's good advice is for every one of those co-sponsors. I don't think you're going to change Mike Lee. He's like I said, when you're an ideologue, when you're on the path to basically close down all federal land or make it useless for its intended purpose, then you're a bridge too far. But who are these other people?
Let's name them. Let's name them.
Well, let's name them.
Yeah. So we've got John Barrasso and Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Ted Budd of North Carolina, Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Cindy Hyde-Smith of Mississippi, Rick Scott of Florida, and again, the only one who represents a border state, a little bit of it, Ted Cruz of Texas.
Well, these are all people who just will do anything to check a box on MAGA.
Right.
But the point is, how do you get to those folks? Because this can't be their highest priority, legislative priority, and a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
That where all of a sudden they say, whoa, 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 and you'll have a new Congress in a year. He'll reintroduce this. It's not going anywhere as long as we've killed the filibuster, and as long as we don't kill the filibuster, it's not going anywhere. But the thing is that take the lack of support for a reintroduction as a major victory, and you've got to speak up, even if it's one or two people. And people always say, well, it doesn't matter if you call. It does matter. You count those. When legislators say, I don't know how many people called me, bullshit. They all know how many people called. You keep a tally. And because you put your finger or your hand on that hot stove once, you pull it back and you don't put it back on.
Yeah, and my mom always used to say, the company that you keep. So, if you sign onto this bill, just take a look at Mike Lee's record on public lands, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a hot stove here.
Think about the senators from Wyoming in particular. What a public land state, right? And so what we need to do, what I'm hearing from you, is this little fire that's burning right now. We need to throw some more wood on that fire, maybe throw some gasoline on that fire, make it that hot stove. And so people are like, whoa, and they step back from it.
And if you guys want to see what Mike Lee looks like, we have a lovely little naked mole rat that we put his face on almost every day.
We
on
consider him
our
enemy
social
number
media.
one. Yeah.
He is enemy number one to public.
To public
Absolutely, absolutely. And we mentioned this, but I think it's worth repeating anytime we can. But not just because he's a senator from Utah, he is the chair of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which is tasked with overseeing our public lands. So they put the arsonist in the fire department here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What the hell is that all about?
Well, that's the way that this administration operates. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about one more thing. It is related to this discussion about the Big Brother bill, and that is President Trump's nominee to run the Bureau of Land Management, former New Mexico Congressman Steve Pierce, Republican, 78 years old, and big shoes to fill because we think the world of the last one. But now that he's being considered for this position, we have to note that he was a co-sponsor of a particular piece of legislation. It was years ago, but it's important. And Barrett, I'm going to kick it to you to fill in some color here.
It was called H.R. 1501, introduced in the House of Representatives. And Senator, you may remember way back in 2012 when our mutual friend John Tester was running for re-election. His opponent at the time, Congressman Dennis Rehberg, was a co-sponsor of that bill. It's the same exact bill that we're just talking about with Mike Lee.
You know who won that election.
Exactly.
I mean,
And Dennis Rehberg got his ass beat like a rented mule over this exact issue because people freaked out.
So to be clear, the current nominee to run the BLM co-sponsored the Big Brother bill 14 years ago. And so that's something that I don't think anybody knows, but it's something that he is to be held accountable for, something he has to answer to. And so I just want to make sure that as we're talking about BLM lands, prime hunting ground, that we point out that this guy is dangerous to public lands.
What I'll say back in that race in Montana too is Congressman Rehberg, he felt the fire. Like that, once that fire started, it was from both sides of the aisle. People were like, we don't want Big Brother. And instead of listening to the people, which can happen when the fire gets hot, he decided to dig in.
double down.
And when he doubled down, I think we knew that he was in big trouble. And that's when Senator Tester won.
Well, because it's a twofer for you guys. Number one, totally disruptive to public lands, but also people don't like surveillance. They don't like this big brother, kind of overseeing their activity. And so, especially in the West. Let me tell you, and everybody can say, oh, they're always watching us, right?
They're always
Watching me.
There you go. But just queuing it up.
That's right.
That's
perfect.
But at the end of the day, if groups like yours are not out there, people don't know. And even if somebody doesn't go or take a hike on public lands, even if they don't, guess what? They know it's out there. They know that it belongs to them. It was interesting because Chris Matthews, we just had him on our podcast, The Hot Dish, and Chris Matthews said something that I thought was so wise, like, why does the little guy love his country so much when, and they said, because sometimes that's all they have.
That's right.
Yeah, that knowing it's out there, knowing that you're an American and that you've preserved this and the greatest of Teddy Roosevelt, traditions, and knowing that, Yosemite is there, knowing that, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine a world where we don't have public lands.
Well, and honestly, in today's world, it's so polarized, right? And today's politics are so crazy. Public lands literally are one of the only things that actually unite us as Americans.
Well, it's partly because, we own 640 million acres, like all of us. So that little guy, like anywhere in America right now that's listening, they know that that's the place that they can go, no matter what. And so that's what's at stake here. And I would say for the people that don't, necessarily recreate and they're not next to public lands, they benefit from the clean air and the clean water that are provided by those public lands that all Americans, no matter where you live, benefit from. And so they're important to everybody listening to this.
It is the most American of traditions.
Absolutely.
It is.
Right.
It's America's best idea, right? It really is.
One thing we do in this organization, Senator, is make sure that we educate people on what's happening in Congress, very specific to public lands and hunting and fishing. But I neglected to say that you are part of the One Country Project and a leader of that organization doing similar work for rural America. So tell us a bit about that work. And
One Country, I started this after I left the Senate because I saw this divergence, this sense of separation in this country between urban and rural. And I said, number one, it makes no sense to me because what urban people want is the same thing rural people want. And so when I started this organization, the question was, what are you going to name it? I said, not the Rural Project. I'm going to name it One Country. And we're going to draw the connections between why it's important, just like what you said.
Yeah.
You benefit even though you aren't walking on that earth. You benefit from rural America, and rural America benefits from urban America. Quit letting politicians divide you.
Yes.
Quit having people tell you that you are so different or you're disrespected. Come together as a country. And so we work really hard to analyze policies. One of my big concerns right now is land ownership in rural America.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like yours, which is, if we continue to make it impossible for small farmers to buy land because we've driven prices up, let me tell you, concentration in agriculture is really bad.
Yeah.
And so, we're just sending up the smoke signals, hoping people get them just like you. Look, pay attention to this. This is something that really matters. And so we talk about the good things, but we also talk about the things that threaten rural America and the things that rural America basically provides.
Yes,
for the
it's
rest of the country.
fantastic and so needed. Thank you for doing it. And Senator, one last thing, I wanted to fanboy on you just a little bit and tell you that your role in War Game, the Netflix show, was fucking awesome. For those of you guys
I
who
had
haven't
no
seen
idea
it,
I was that bossy.
oh, you were great. And we know Steve Bullock pretty well. He needs to be bossed around. It was awesome.
the movie scared the hell out of me,
The
but it
movie
was a
did scare me,
fantastic.
yeah.
Well, and now, if you haven't seen the movie, it's all about when the president should declare the Insurrection Act.
That's right.
And let me tell you, the scenario is a little different, but right now we are pretty close to this president declaring the Insurrection Act.
One thing you talked about, I think, too, there's this this idea that, that rural versus urban, but it's also that the kind of the radical middle or the movable middle is not talking enough, right? We're letting these extremes on each side control the debate. And so when we're talking about one country, that's those people in the middle that really we have so much in common, would be my guess.
The radical middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
what can people do?
Well, but you guys, most people are there.
Yeah.
Most people just want common sense, policies. But they also have a pride in what we've created in this country, and public lands is unique to America. I mean, we're the model, and just absolutely essential.
We're the envy of the world.
Yeah,
That is a great place
it's
to.
a beautiful, beautiful place.
It's beautiful and worth fighting for. It's a great place to wrap things up. But before we do, Brin, shout us out some social media for us.
Yeah, I want people, our listeners, to feel empowered that they can do something. And what you can do is use your voice. And that can be done by calling. That can be done, obviously, by email, these old ways of doing things. But we really like to encourage people to do it on social media. You can do this from the comfort of your couch, people. Get on there. Go follow these freaking senators. Just blow up their DMs, get in the comments, tag your friends, share these messages around. If you see this on social media, share it to your friends because they probably don't know what's going on, and have some discussions about it in your inner circles. But online, leaving comments, the staff of these people are reading these comments.
That's right.
Right? And so it's a public testimony in a way. So it's like if everybody's going off on somebody's video, whether it's a soccer video, I don't care if they're posting pictures of, their little vacation in Tuscany or whatever they're doing, get on there and tell them you work for us.
Stoke the fire.
Stoke the fire.
I mean, literally that hot stove.
Well,
right?
and you all have friends.
Yep, that's right.
Get to your
Yes,
friends
that's
and
right.
say,
That's
I
right.
know you share. I mean,
Yeah.
There's a multiplying effect. If ever there was a process for pyramiding, it's social media, but
Yep.
pyramid for good.
Absolutely.
Well, Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, really appreciate you joining us from the One Country Project. Really appreciate your time here and your perspective and experience. It matters a lot. And for Lan Tani, Barrett Kaiser, Brin Merkley, I'm Aaron Murphy. This is The Arena. We are the front line in the war on public land and wildlife. Had a lot of fun.
Go
today.
out,
Thanks.
get on the
Yeah.
landscape, touch some grass, eat what you kill.
That's right.
Go touch grass.
Absolutely.
Follow us, damn it.
That's right. Follow us on Instagram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.